All right, so this is my 63 video, my 63rd video, and in this video, I'll just at this point, I just want to kind of walk through some of the things they do to me and what they've done to others. In my last video, I was putting testimonies of others, but as you can see, I just woke up, and as I just woke up, it was just disgusting. It made me not only wake up from a dream that was so disgusting, not disgusting in the sense it was not as disgusting as it could have been, but there's obviously children, and they kind of start training my brain, not start, but kind of kind of condition my brain with little kids. It's so disgusting. And then they made me have the most disgusting imagination, where they literally made me imagine do something so disgusting. I don't even want need to speak about it, but it was disgusting. And I know they can force your brain to feel like it's your thoughts going there, your imagination, but it was obviously them. And then you hear this. With me, they use this. I think it's kind of disgusting. But these people, right? And it's funny. They like to call me "you're nothing." They like saying they're not. I'm nothing. But I'm like, okay, so you, the something that you claim that you are, the nothing that I am, and you are the something. You so being something is like being you is something, right? So like, who is the nothing here? The person who is forced to imagine things in these ways, or the person who's forcing to have these disturbing pedophilia-centric thoughts? They obviously know who's the nothing is them. And you're hearing this childlike individual, she's trying to sound agitating and try to make it seem like you're nothing. That's why we're making you imagine this disturbing pedophilia ways of thinking, using the different tone. And I'm like, and it's somebody who's far from impressive. Like, you will see her as like she's not, like, literally. Sometimes I even see them in person, and it's just like they don't phase me, knowing that they're involved in some of the nastiest things they do to me. But I'm like, you are such a. It just, like, I can't even, I don't even feel you. Like, I don't even see, like, you just like almost a ghost. I'm the ghost because they keep saying I'm dead, but I'm looking like you just don't do, like, you're just like the atmosphere to me, like, and you've done some horrible things to me. They keep saying they blew this organ, they do this thing, and this is horrible things, right? So I should hate them, but I look at them, it's like, wow, you just are just the nothingness in this. You just don't even, like, you stand like you're not even human at this point, and you're trying to dehumanize me. It's so sad. It's disgusting. And they like use these the agitating voices, and they use, I'm not even trying to exaggerate, but this is how they sound to me, right? And they're using the V2K to, like, create this voice to be heard by me. And you hear them talk in this fashion. You're nothing, and you're gonna die, and and they use this, like, and they purposely try to sound this way to sound, like, very, like, they try to sound calming, right? But at the same time menacing. But it just sounds like a child trying to be a villain. But they're doing some. I mean, they're talking about some disgusting things, and after making me imagine the most disturbing pedophilia thoughts. So you see, it's like they have normalized it, and just think that this just, you know it's okay. We're just, I think in their minds, like, oh, he's nothing, so we can do the pedophilia things to him, which is disgusting, because at the same time it's like you are doing the you heard what you just, that means that like, this is the norm, because they don't understand that it actually looks bad onto like, you look like the trash, not the individual that's being forced to experience that. You who is forcing the person to experience that. So they've tricked themselves to not understand that you actually the one looking like trash more than the person you're doing this to. Because when you claim he's nothing, so what are you? And then you hear some other trash say, "Oh, I love it," and I understand why they're saying that, in the sense that this is something that I cannot, I will not. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing. There's no civilian that is capable of protecting themselves from this technology. This is government devices. This is government entities. This is government resources. This is intelligence community at the most sophisticated level, experimenting on civilian subjects who have no ways to protect themselves. So you hear these people who not only, I'm sure, like enjoy the fact that they have this godlike ability to manipulate people with this technology and ability to control somebody's life. But at the same time, me not respecting them and seeing them for what they are, they're enjoying the fact that, oh, okay, you don't respect us, okay, you'll see what's gonna happen to you, all these horrible things. And I know I keep saying that. So for me, I understand they're gonna push whatever as for the worst level, because I didn't let them live the fantasy they've created for themselves. So I understand that. And not too long ago, they're like they're gonna frame me, and then they talk about some specific gang I don't know, and they're like, and I'm like, okay, listen, I don't want to be tortured by anybody, but you understand that I am going against the government of like this intelligence community that has technology. I'm a subject to a human experimentation where they can do everything to my body without me doing anything. So you lose I mean, not to say I'm not gonna be fearful, but you lose. You know, if somebody was saying there's a gang of people that are gonna do this and that and that, I would be terrified. But once when you've been in this program where they can do all this horrible thing, I can get burned without nobody being around me. I can all these things are happening to my mind, to my thoughts, to my organs, to my bones, to my teeth, and nobody's doing anything to me directly, physically. You understand now? You're like, okay, like you're talking about a gang of people. So that's that. And they told me that they're gonna frame me. Matter of fact, there's and somebody's gonna say something about I did something. I heard a woman saying, "Oh, you raped my child in the neighbor in the hallways," and they've done some things before to try to kind of like trick me. I'm gonna make that video where I thank God that I was able to kind of keep all the like tracked in not even tracked, but I recorded a bunch of things while they were happening. There was a time where, I made a video about it. Every time I looked at somebody who looked like they could be underage, they would stress me out, right? They would start making me feel like, how old is she? How old is she? How old is she? And so what will happen is like it would force me to kind of find out who that person was, how old they were, and whatever. But what happened is, and I have the video and I'll go through that. They did this thing where there was somebody, I think it was on some kind of app, and I see her and they start stressing me out. It's like who she is. She was like, she looks like somebody in young adults, right? But they try to force me to like make me imagine like what if she's underage, and okay, it's like, okay, let me figure that out. So this ends, whatever happens, let's figure that out. And there's an image of her on, you could find her on Google, but they say, okay, there's a profile on Reddit that shows her as like, who is she or something like that. So I get on Reddit, I get my profile up. I turned it off before because I didn't want them to mess with me. I get my profile Reddit. I go into that profile that has her picture, and I go to it and hoping there's somebody's like link so I can find out who she is and what age she is so they can leave me alone. And I don't see anything yet. So I'm like, maybe later on it's gonna come, and I'm gonna, somebody's gonna post some link to something, and we can end this thing here. I'm just, I don't want to deal, so I leave my phone alone, and then I hear a notification. I hear the notification. I look at my phone, and somehow I did not subscribe to this profile, but somehow I became a follower of this profile. I'm like, what is going on? Anyways, so I'm like, maybe they have information about this person. I open and I see an image of somebody who looks definitely like a teenage kid, like a kid. And I'm like, oh, and I have my surveillance camera that sees everything, like that's capturing me reacting to these things. I look at it as like, oh my gosh, that looks like a kid, like some random on the same profile. And I look at it, it's like she's like a 16-year-old kid. I'm like, oh, I got immediately off this profile. And I understood this is what they were trying to do. They have the ability to kind of not only control you, predict what you're gonna do, and to try to mess with you They do this thing, and this profile was made in Nigeria, and I have like this person that lived around that lived in Nigeria, that was Nigerian. So I was like, okay, I see where this is going. They're gonna start putting kids in this thing. So I got rid of my profile, and I didn't get rid of my. I just removed myself from, disconnected myself from this rated profile, and remove my profile from remove not remove my but remove this thing from my phone, and they will try to mess with me. Now this is the different ways of trickery, but today I just want to, and I'll have a specific. I'll walk through every step and kind of um give you like an idea of how they do these things. But today, what I wanted to focus on is I wanted to listen to more testimonies on these people, on why what they do to me is not new, and how common it is that they do these things to people. So, please listen to this, and we can walk through it when this is over.
The government and agencies. I am a big 10. Name Kelly Kaslar. Citizenship USA. Year torture or abuse began 2001. Mail winme@gmail.com. Hoshitits at yahoo.com. I support the worldwide campaign against torture and abuse using directed energy and neurological weapons. I would like to draw your attention to some extreme and horrendous criminality being conducted with the involvement of United States government-related agencies and the complicity, if not participation, of many other governments and agencies. I am a victim of torture and abuse using directed energy and neurological weapons technology. There's massive ignorance and secrecy regarding this, and victims such as I are being subjected to uncontrolled and unacknowledged torture and mental and physical destruction. This has remained completely unreported and undiscussed publicly. There are many others, all over the world, who are being subjected to similar torture and abuse. Your attention is urgently needed to halt these atrocities, protect Kelly M. Kaslar, and bring these extremist elements to justice. This is an emergency. I have been a victim of directed energy weapons, remote harassment, and organized stalking since 2002. The phenomenon is real. It includes psychological harassment to induce psychosis, isolation, depression, and suicide, physical and emotional manipulation, and devastation of financial and social resources. Nobody is above the law, yet some groups or agencies out there believe themselves to be. This is not right. I can confirm the following technical abilities and powers as follow. 1. That they can place a human subject under continuous surveillance, no matter where he or she is from remote locations. 2. That they can monitor a human brain from remote locations including thought, reaction, motor command, auditory event, and visual image reading. 3. They can continuously input directly into a human brain from remote locations, including the ability to override, control and alter consciousness, and to induce voices, noises, other disturbances, images, and dreams into the brain. 4. That they can directly interfere with abuse, torture, and hit your body with invisible beams from remote locations. 5. That they can interfere with alter, insert, etc. data files, communications, and legal evidence from remote locations even during transmission. These things are already in existence and are already being used and abused on myself and other US citizens. I was born in the USA in Los Angeles County, raised in Southern California. Been abused, technology used to sexually assaulted me, night programming, constant raped. Is there's a name for what the group of stalkers that are abusing me 24/7 electronically. That would be sick bastards from hell. Since I decided to stand up since 2004, when finally I found internet and the network of victims being abused in the same manner as I've been, I declared war to this kaka, this zombies from hell, because before this date, I was the perfect victim for this psychopaths groups. I summoned after 10 years of stalking and torture in 1996. And because the pain was so unbearable, they used some type of technology weapon where they aim at my head, and I felt that a hot knife was stabbing me in the head. And the act so coward that I didn't have other choice. I could have been killed by then with the use of this weapon of torture that they had at the time, and because I have 4 children at the time, they were all little, even though a few days after I summoned, they attacked one of my twins, also in her head. But today, after 3 years that I rebelled against them, with an attitude, and no more doing what they want me to do, because that exactly I did, they started over with the pain, but this time, I didn't back up, because I knew the new neighbors were listening, and since I knew they introduced themselves as an organization of goodness, I knew they wouldn't torture Emmy in the same manner that I was years ago. So after the initial attack, I took a defiant attitude and talked back, and telling them things are not the same like it was before. I wasn't afraid anymore, because I wasn't the only victim. I felt overpowered by the fact that there's already thousands and possibly millions of victims all over the world, that I felt strong with this. They simply couldn't do anything to change my attitude. And because I took it for so long, I immediately told them so of speak that I wasn't going to change my attitude, that the puppeter that they thought they have is gone, and this is me the real persona, and I wasn't to take their bullshit anymore. Bean said this, I started searching in internet for information about the abuse and the weapons that these psychopaths groups are using on innocent Americans. And I was overwhelmed by the horror stories of the target individuals and what their immediate families are going through, the information about the technology weapons that are used by the government, the agencies including CIA, FBI, NSA, Homeland Security, DOD, DOJ, etc., and mainly, the very well documented information of the technology in the web, including the well documented organized stalking and torture run by neighborhoods, sort of speak, settled in neighborhoods, under the sponsor of our government. Mr. Bush, you are not going to tell me that you do not acknowledge all of this corruption happening, you know exactly what's going on. I have joined support groups, sent letters to congressmen, senators, representatives in the government, also have joined international groups of victims, where I have sent my testimony of events, since my harassment began. Today, since this coward group of slaves realized, I'm not changing in the old ways, they decided to get Emmy in any way possible. I learned through other T's that they've been assaulted sexually, and I realized I wasn't the only one. Then I knew WE all get the same thing. Also that some of the T's stated that they forced her, through holograms, to see aberrant sexual scenes. That she felt that she was starting likening what she was forced to see every night. That I thought how that could happen. But then I told them that they would never take MY will, and since we all know how this psychopaths groups work with what the TI says or does, then they started during the nights to run some kind of beam, where suddenly I've been wakened up at 3 o'clock in the mornings and some kind of voice comes and say phrases, sound incomprehensible, and some other times can actually catch what is saying. It's not MY voice. A different voice. And I realized that they are trying to program for me to take it in a way that I won't notice a possible change in my behavior. Of course, this is not new, because one main thing this program is out there is called behavior modification for the undesirable, and that's one of the excuses these groups give for the neighbor to join deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things that I cannot repeat it in this blog. You know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, decided to aggravate them with words, in my mind. I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation. For every single second of MY privacy that you have taken away from me and my family. Bean said this the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet. And suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continue. Then in that moment I realized that was impost. So I thought, look at this losers. Don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing. And then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ass. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them, I usually called demeaning names, and one of them is referring to homosexuals. For me, all of the slaves are misfits, society haters, scumbags, etc. No, I don't have anything personal against them, homosexuals, but is my way to aggravated the slaves. And since they love to use children for the torture and stalking, street theater, etc., especially teenagers, for the stalking at close range with an attitude, they are using them during my sleep in the perversion program, and so you can imagine what the slaves of torture are pretending to do to me. In the last days, as today the 9th of September '07, anything I do, either watching TV or reading of whatever I'm doing, they brush me sort of say, I feel like I'm aroused all day and I feel the palpitations in my genitals for what I'm thinking. And since the attack comes so quickly, I realized my programming has been set on auto in their central computers. No handlers could do something like this that quick. What made me realized the slaves are desperate to get me. Unfortunately for them, they are facing a strong wall where no matter how much their computers APME, I know I'm not changing. As I said, I feel like they've been set up a beam where I feel constantly stimulated.
All right. So, all right. By the way, as you can see, my eyes were going everywhere, and that's because they were trying to like they were making me imagine everything. They were trying, you hear at one point this woman talks about how they do this program of perversions, right? Where they force her to